Okay, we have a motion moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Dan Meeks, that council rise from closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 to discuss advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, section 239(2)(f, and further that staff carry out instructions received from council in closed session. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, back to our regular agenda here. I have a motion moved by Duncan McGregor and seconded by Bill Everett that items A through E be accepted for information as they're considered routine. Any questions or comments on any of those? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, no deferred items. Staff reports. And we're starting with building development services. Moved by Lynn Clegus, seconded by Cindy Kelpsey, that construction details January 2026 report be received for information as presented by the chief building official. Hello, Andy. Any questions or comments for Andy? How's it going? Is there lots of builders coming out of the woodwork?
There's a few. It's a little early to tell yet. Been a pretty cold winter, so.
Spring will come though, soon. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. And moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Duncan McGregor, that council received the building services deficit report as prepared by the chief building official for information. And for the council understands the funding challenges associated with applying the Ontario Building Code retroactively through septic reinspection programs and highlights the difference between building code and fire code enforcement funding models. Discussion. Questions or comments? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Andy, you've come numerous times over the mandatory septic. So my question to you is, if we went and kind of scaled back or went with just certain areas like lakes or designated areas, would there be less of a deficit created in the building department?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy. I guess what I was trying to highlight in this report is that that the building department shouldn't be expected to fund the reinspection program, and because it's designed to fund doing issuing permits and conducting inspections on new builds rather than retroactive on existing builds. But yeah, definitely if it was scaled back, it wouldn't cost the taxpayers as much money.
Susan?
Through Madam Mayor. So, Mr. Dillon, you pointed out that we're funded, or we've adopted a hybrid model. So there are certain fees through the Building Code Act that are through the building department, but we also have other measures in place that are charged to the township or the taxpayers as a whole. And that is the approach, the hybrid approach is used to try and fill that funding gap. So if we still have a deficit with the mandatory septic reinspection program, and I hear Councillor Gowdy's suggestion that we could perhaps modify the program, but are there other alternative funding mechanisms that you would recommend?
The user fee could be increased, but I don't think the users would appreciate that. But yeah, it's yeah, we've struggled with this program for quite a while. It's
If
yeah.
Yep. Go ahead.
Through Madam Mayor, and within the past budget, there are certain changes that are being through the services and organizational review that will be made so that there will be a certain portion that is covered by the taxpayer through the township staff. So will that make a difference?
Yes, it will. I just wanted to highlight from my report from last month showing the deficit that that basically it wasn't the building department that has the deficit. The septic reinspection program was included in that report. So, but yes, hiring more staff would help with the backlog of compliance issues that have been building up.
So just to be clear, the building department deficit, and I do recall that, is that attributable entirely to the septic reinspection program, or are there other factors at play?
I can't remember the exact amount that we were short. I'd probably have to sit down with Michael to determine the exact amount, but with hiring another staff member, obviously that deficit's going to increase.
Okay, just for my clarity, the building inspection pays for itself. And
Correct.
anything that's outside of that is paid for by the taxpayer, regardless of what they're doing, right?
Basically, that's what's going to happen.
So that's the way it's always been. So I'm not sure why there was a deficit shown under building. Is it because the septic reinspection is in that category?
Correct. That's how that report was presented. So I was just trying to clarify that
Okay.
in the past, we've had some very busy years and the building department brought in revenue. So it was always included in there. It just, it carried the,
So maybe it just needs to be backed out of there and set out separately.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So anything else on this report? If not, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right. And that's it for Andy. We're at Public Works now.
Yep.
All right. Moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council receive the Public Works Activity Report as presented by the Public Works Manager for information. Hello, folks. Questions or comments on the report? Duncan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to our Public Works Department. Every time I turn on the news, I hear of salt shortage across all of Ontario. How's Central Frontenac doing as far as salt is concerned?
Through you, Madam Mayor. We have a significant salt to mix with our sand right now to do the pickled mix that everybody keeps talking about. We aren't going to have a surplus of salt, that's for sure, but we're going to have enough to mix with the sand. So we have hopefully 2 to 3% to mix with our sand. We're actually filling up domes this week and next week probably. So.
Good. Lynn?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment that I was speaking to a lady in Arden that works in Arden and lives south of Arden near Tamworth and travels regularly on the Arden Road. And she wanted to say that she's been very happy with the clearing of the snow this winter. And when she crosses over into Stone Mills, it's significantly not as well plowed. So congratulations to our crews for doing such a good job in Central Frontenac.
Always nice to hear a compliment.
Mhm.
Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In your report, you said that you are not going to give an update till Q3 about your capital projects. But if you wouldn't mind, could you give an update about where you're at with the sand dome and putting out for the replacement of the large sand dome?
Through you, Madam Mayor. The smaller sand dome, he's pouring cement either this week or next week. He's got the forms all formed up and the rebar in it. I've approached Greer Galloway is going to do an RFP for the big sand dome. Because it'd be good to have a structural engineer on for that thing. So yeah, it's started. So he sent me a draft today. We're going to look at it. We're actually going to have a meeting with him this week, and hopefully I put it in for RFP soon. Here.
Good. Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a couple of questions. One was around the salt shortage as well. The report made it sound like we may be adjusting our service levels to accommodate for that. And I'm just wondering, is there any budget implications for that? Because you haven't come and asked us for any additional funds to try to buy more salt to keep our levels up. And the second question was around the capital status report, and just that's fine if it doesn't come to the third quarter, but I'm hoping some of these projects are going to get tendered, and we're not waiting till Q3 to do the work in Q4 then.
So you, Madam Mayor, it's the salt is not whether they're coming and ask you for money. We just can't get it. It doesn't matter if we have all the money we want, we can't get it.
Yeah.
So everybody's short everywhere. It's not that we can't get it because we need more money. It's just everybody's short. So and the projects, yeah, we'll be working, moving forward with them too.
We've got a few quotes that we're dealing with tonight that have been advertised and back in and decisions to be made. Okay, Duncan.
Just to follow up to my initial salt question, what I was going to suggest is maybe like a social media campaign or a public relations campaign to let people know we're dealing with a salt shortage. And just as you say in your report, after a storm, they might not notice that the roads are bare as fast. I think it would save council and staff getting a lot of phone calls.
Yeah. Okay. And it's been a terrible, long, snowy, cold winter. All right. Anything else on the report? All those in favor? Carried. Great. Next is moved by Nikki Gowdy, second by Lynn Klages, that council receive the supply and delivery of gravel recommendation report for information, and that council approve the public work manager's recommendation to award the supply and delivery of gravel contract to Gemmell Sand and Gravel in the amount of $402,690 excluding HST. Now therefore be it resolved that council authorize the public works manager to issue a purchase order for the work, and that the mayor and CEO clerk be authorized to sign the final contract. Questions or comments? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Steve, where do we all advertise our RFPs? Is it just on the newspaper and social media, or do you go to Bid and Go? Just wondering, like, if we can get more traction to the quotes to make it a little bit more competitive. Last year we spent 475,000 on gravel, so 402 is a lot less. Are we doing a similar amount of kilometers to that as well? Because that's a great savings, if so.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, right now it's social media, and we do an RFT for it for the gravel.
And we do
kilometers.
get local people.
The kilometers, yeah, the kilometers, I think it's actually less than what it was last year, because we're doing more kilometers with less money this year, and any surplus money we have, we usually get extra stockpile for washouts and anything that might happen. But or if we can do it, we'll do an extra road or something to, if it's on the way to these other roads, we'll negotiate something more. But.
Good. Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. All right, moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council receive the supply and delivery of 35% calcium chloride recommendation report for information, and that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager to award the supply and delivery of 35% calcium chloride contract to Dali in the amount of $44.405 per liter for 20,000 liter loads, and 0.495 per liter for 10,000 liter loads, excluding HST. Now therefore be it resolved that council authorize the Public Works Manager to issue a purchase order for the work and coordinate the seasonal deliveries, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the final contract. Is there a reason why it's separate amounts? I think I read that, but I don't remember what it said.
You, Madam Mayor, it's some trucks are the smaller trucks and some are the big tanker trucks. So some roads we can't get the big truck down, so it's costs different for the little
Like
truck.
mine.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Dan Meeks, that council received the microsurface recommendation report for information, and that council directs staff not to award contract tender PW 2026-01 microsurface program as all bids received exceeded the approved budget allocation, and that council authorized staff to retender the microsurface program in order to seek more competitive pricing and ensure best value for the township, and that staff report back to council with the results of the retender process for consideration and potential award. Questions and comments? First, I've seen this one. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question from before, where do we advertise? Do we need to expand where we advertise to maybe potentially go a little bit outside of the area to get a better price?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we advertise in the same spots, but and we also send out a personal invite to companies that do it. There's not a lot of companies that do the microsurface, so we usually invite them to it and send them the tender. So it was over for what we allotted for that section of road, because there's other roads in the township that I would like to preserve too, like some Township roads. So it was just a little bit more than what we expected for that piece. That's all.
And do you think possibly the prices will come down, say, by summertime, or?
To you, Madam Mayor, I
It's a guess.
don't know. Can't say. It's a guess.
All right. Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. All right, moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Duncan McGregor, that council received the plow truck recommendation for report for information, and that council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager and award tender PW 2026-02 to Freightliner North Bay in the amount of $411,000, excluding HST. Now therefore be it resolved that council authorize the Public Works Manager to issue a purchase order and finalize all necessary documents, and that the mayor and CEO clerk be authorized to sign the final contract when required. Discussion. This is for a plow truck, right? Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Expected delivery time, I know the one truck we purchased was a long time arriving, so just curious if this is the same idea.
To you, Madam Mayor, yes, I know what you're talking about, because the truck we tendered in 24, we got 2 weeks ago. So
Wow.
this one is there was a couple bids that were in 27. They're saying fall of 26 for this one.
Good. Let's hope they stick to that. Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for clarification, Steve, is this truck that you're tendering for a little bit bigger than the Freightliner you bought last year in February that we didn't get till the fall?
To you, Madam Mayor, this is a little bigger truck because we were able to tender this truck. The other one was one we needed because we had trucks that wouldn't pass the safety. So it's one we got off the lot. This one was tendered with more horsepower, bigger, everything we need.
Good. Okay. All right. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council receive the estimated curbside waste collection cost analysis report as prepared by the Public Works Technical Assistant for information. Discussion. Lynn?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I have multiple questions. I'm not sure. I have questions from a constituent, and then I have my own questions as well. So I'll go through the constituent.
We have it up here too.
Okay.
She's gonna do some
Oh, you want to do?
presentation.
Okay.
I got something to say first. I just want to say that Amanda spearheaded this, did a lot of work. She did a lot of time, called a lot of townships. I helped her with a few meetings and some pricing, but she did most of the work on this. She did a lot of time on it, and she did a really good job. So
Good. Okay.
So this is just a very easy peasy to look at breakdown for everyone who doesn't read the report and does watch the council meetings. Basically everything that's in the report is in this little slideshow I've put together, and I thought a little bit more of a visual would be better for everyone to look at. So I did two separate models. I did an in-house service model and a contracted service model. So the in-house service model is obviously where we would do it ourselves. Contracted is hiring someone else to do it. A lot of the differences when it comes to costing is capital and staffing. So if we're going to do it ourselves, we need more equipment, more manpower. That's where a lot of our cost goes to. I did have it so that we had replacement reserves for bins and equipment as well, trying to think ahead and be smart with our money as best as we can. So that way, after the 10 years, we can replace it without having another hardship. Yeah, so you can go to the next one. So this one is the contracted service model. So the dominating price point for this one would be obviously paying a contractor to do it. I got some costs from neighboring municipalities that do the contracting stuff right now. So with their costs, I mean, it depends on where we're going. It's a decent cost compared to doing it in-house. There's no liability for us. There's no overhead costs for maintenance. Staffing is a heck of a lot lower just because you would only need one person to spearhead it instead of, 3 or 4. You can go next. So this one's just a comparison for the first year. So on my high level estimation, the in-house model would be an additional $780 per household for the first year, whereas the contracted model would be $601 per household for the first year. So that's about 23% savings in the contracted model versus in-house. Next. And this one's a 10-year cost projection. So it shows obviously the first year, which is the startup, it would be significantly higher. After that, it would drop down and be a little bit more stable through years 2 to 10. That being said, the first year is obviously the startup cost, the initial cost for everything, the bins, the trucks, the people, depending on which model we go with. And then it would stabilize after that because we know what costs we're looking at and it's going to be through the next, 9 years the same. Next. So this is the truck I based all of my information off of. I reached out to quite a few companies to get information off of. This is the only one that got back to me with any information at all. So this one specifically is a 25-yard waste truck, which means it can hold between 8 and 14 tons of waste. Doing a little bit of a breakdown on how many times we'd have to empty the truck. That's basically 1 to 2 times a day. And in the report, I did suggest we would not take it to our waste site because it would close the waste site a lot faster and fill it up quicker. So it would have to go to Kingston. And then for the lanes that we have, we would put this ginormous tidy bin camper. It holds up to 20 large bags of garbage. So that anybody who lives on a lane that we don't maintain, take it to the end of the lane, put it in there, and then the garbage trucks can come past and just empty it that way. Now, these tidy bins are specifically designed so that way bears, raccoons, any type of wildlife cannot get in them. I watched a video and they had 4 huge male grizzly bears and they couldn't open the thing. So it's pretty cool. And I think that's it.
Okay, good. Okay, now Lynn.
Thank you. Okay, so as I was saying, I have questions on my own, but I'm going to start with the constituent questions. And do you want me to give them all to you and then do one at a time and you'll answer? Okay. What is the definition of household that has been used for all of the calculations?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So per household, it is anything that's a dwelling that someone lives in. So that would include apartment buildings, duplexes, anything where someone's physically living in it. Vacant land is not counted.
Okay. Is a summer cottage on a private road, does that carry the same definition as a permanent residence in Charlotte Lake?
Yes, we did include that.
Is a trailer a household?
When you think of it, logically, no. But when you also think of it, there's going to be some places where they have bunkies where, some cottages are only 3 seasons. So a trailer would also be counted as a dwelling, especially if it's on a lane or if, they later end up building, we would count that as well.
And I think it depends on a trailer or an RV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's more stable, then yes.
Yes.
If it's portable, probably not.
Okay. What analysis has been done regarding the legality of placing a waste bin aligned to a private lane whereby the easement is only for ingress and egress, and the property owner is not agreeable or even available?
So because this was, just a few months to get together, I obviously didn't go down the legal train. Quick thoughts on that?
It would be on our road allowance.
It would have to be, yeah. And if not, obviously we'd have to do surveys and go from there and figure
Yeah.
it out at that point.
Okay, that's what I thought,
Mhm.
but just wanted clarification. What analysis of costs has been done regarding snow plowing, maintenance, and insurance to permit the use of private property where these bins may be placed?
I'm going to say, again, the same answer.
Yep. Okay.
And we didn't go deep into
No.
all of these
No.
questions, so we may
Mhm.
not be able to answer them all.
What analysis has been done to provide the number of 166 lanes?
So this is actually a list of lanes we do not maintain, but we are aware, obviously, they exist within the township. They are lanes, basically, or courts, however they're named. They're just things that we don't maintain. But obviously, we wanted to address that they are taxpayers within the township who do have access to the waste sites. So they also needed to be taken care of. So that's why we went with the bins.
Okay, thank you. That's all of the constituent. And I have two questions. The first is, how, when you did all of your pricing, were you considering this to be weekly pickup or bi-weekly or like?
So I did it based on weekly, 4 days a week,
Okay.
8 or 10 hours a day for if it was in-house. If not, then contractor, it would be weekly as well. That's my expectation.
Okay.
It would have to be negotiated that way.
Okay. Now, my final question is, love the detailed report, but I also went and I had a chat with our treasurer, Michael, about the actual costs that would be incurred by the taxpayer, because I feel if we do take this further and take it to a referendum question, the actual tax increase, I wanted him to expand a little bit more than beyond what the numbers you gave. And Michael was good enough to agree to come tonight to address this. So I was hoping we could let him speak for a moment.
So through Madam Mayor to all of council, I did my calculations just a little bit different. I took
Hold that mic closer, Michael.
the in-between range at $6 million. So looking at that, it would be a 50% tax levy increase for the setup and about a 20% levy increase steady going forward, just going from year 1 to 3. For every 100,000 assessment dollars would be $630 per 100,000 in assessment for the startup, and about $230 per year in year 1 to 3, and then going up.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was all I had.
Nikki?
Thank you. And thank you for the work you did, Amanda. I did similar work many years ago on it. So this is the Cadillac model. We could go down to the Escort with it. So we could do every other week. We could go, instead of the great big garbage truck, you could go with a side load, and you could only need one employee on it. So there's lots of tweaking that could be done on this. As you said, you just needed to get us a report and get us a ballpark price.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, it was, I tried to think of every single avenue possible. Like, I was thinking of a high level estimate, so that way, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We're going to do it right the first time. Here's what it looks like. So I tried to look at every single avenue possible. Any questions that anybody would have, like any tiny little detail, I tried to think of it all. There is actually smaller trucks out there. I did, like I said, reach out to companies for them. There is trucks that actually don't require a DZ driver's license. It could be a G2. So that actually opens doors a little bit bigger for us as well. But again, I didn't get any answers back. So unfortunately, I had to go off of what I had.
Well, and I appreciate that. So thank you. But we could change, the price could be changed with tweaking and service model. My other question, and I'm not going to throw you under the bus or anything, Steve, because you weren't the public works manager. I recall sitting at the council table 6 or 7 years ago, and came in and did a presentation, and we were talking about the lifespan of our dumps, and there was talk that there was room in Mountain Grove for expansion, and it would take probably 7 years to get an approval on expansion at the dump. Are if we're going to do something like this, and it's going to be a bigger savings to taxpayers if we could use our own dump, what's involved in looking in and getting an expansion approval for it? And also, you're looking at with garbage, and it will help clean up some properties. Like, if people who say that they can't make it to the dump or whatever, but they could put a bag out every other week or what have you, that could also help. But I would be more interested in expanding the dump answer if possible.
To you, Madam Mayor, I would have to look back at exact numbers, but I think I recall some of this, and we could do a study. It would be $50,000 at that time, I think, when we asked about it, and it would take a while to do the study. It may have gave us 5 more years, but it may not, and we still had to pay the $50,000 no matter if we got 5 more years or not. So I think at that time we said no, but I can go back and check it, but I recall that something like that.
And just to add to that, I remember from back then, which I think is still the case today, that the Ontario government is not approving expansion of any waste disposal sites. So you can put your 50,000 in doing all of your work to get ready for it, but they're not approving any across Ontario. I don't know what they think we're going to do with garbage down the road, but until they start opening that process up, is there any sense of doing that? But I also believe if you're going to put the question on the ballot, you need to also be able to put a price on that ballot. Because if you ask the question, would you like it? Everybody would like it. But the question is, would you like it if you're paying for it at this cost? And we have a lot of people on a fixed income that if we add that directly to their taxes, plus whatever else we need to look after roads, it may be just far too much for them. But again, it's a step forward and something that we're going to have to do at some point, whether or not we can afford to do it now or 10 years down the road. Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a couple of questions. I was wanting to understand the rationale for a truck for each district, because I'm assuming we wouldn't be picking up garbage every day in each district, because we're talking about 4 trucks, I believe. And then wanted to understand why we wouldn't be taking the waste to our own site, because the numbers are saying like it's a couple $100,000 to, in year 10, 365,000 almost. I have another question after that, but.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Smith. So not taking the waste to our own waste site was something I had asked South specifically, South Frontenac, because they were doing that when they started. And I asked, how did it impact the amount of waste that you could hold in your site? Like, did it make it close faster? Like how? And he said, yes, it did significantly. So when you think about it right now, people are bringing it to the dumps. Some people take care of it and do it, if they're cottagers, they take it home. Some take it to Kingston, some separate it, some have their own bins from like say E360, for example. So all those things are factors. Whereas if we were doing curbside pickup, there wouldn't be those factors. So now we're adding all of that garbage that wasn't in there before into the waste site. So he said on average, it would fill up about 15% more than it did before, like quicker than it did. So, we have the only waste site now that is going to be as a waste site instead of a transfer station. We have about 25, 24 years left. So now we'd be looking at 10 within the first, 2-3 years. And I put in for 4 garbage trucks. We have 550 kilometers of roads. You got to think, say there's two garbage bins out or 2 garbage bags out. Well, someone's got to pick them up every drop. and go. So I was trying to logistically look at it and say, how are we going to do this every single day to make this feasible? And I just went off of, what other townships had said. So it was 4 days at 10 hours. Each district had a truck because that was what made sense for their kilometers, and they had significantly less kilometer roads that they maintained than us.
Sorry, the other
Yes.
question I had
Go ahead.
was around the bins. I see we're buying all the bins and supplying them, and I don't believe other municipalities necessarily do that for.
What are you saying down there?
Sorry. So yes, I put those in there as a possibility. When speaking with other municipalities, they buy them outright, and then those lanes have to come up with X amount of funds, which actually didn't cover the full cost. So the municipalities were actually losing money on those bins. So just to save face, to add those in, to have them in there and say this is also an option, I put them in there. Yes, everyone's paying for them, but the option is, if you want curbside pickup, here's your lane, your bin is this much. We can take those off and expect lanes to take care of it like they do their own plowing or grading.
Some revenue to come back.
Exactly.
One more and then Duncan.
Thank you. This is the last one.
Okay.
So if we're wanting more information or more work done on this, and by the way, a lot of work went into it, so thank you. We have a waste committee, I do believe,
Where's Bill? We had.
well, wherever it went, is this something that they could work on? Because I think, there's still lots of questions that we all have. So
Bill, you were on that committee.
Not only was I on the committee, I've been on it for 24 years.
And you're the only member left.
And I've been picking up curbside for 30 years. And nobody's bothered to ask me anything.
He's the garbage man.
You?
Can I tell you that when I was the Reeve of Oso, I had a garbage business and I trucked out on these lanes, and it was when we first started to separate the recyclables, and I had my toque and my rubber boots, and I did it for a number of years. Anyway, back to the questions. Lynn, or sorry, Duncan was first and then Lynn.
I have a few questions. Amanda, first of all, thank you. This was a tall order, especially in the amount of time you had. So if you can't answer these exactly, it's not a big issue. When we look at the costs and we look at bin setup, we're roughly $2.8 million, $2,793,000. What is bin setup?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So that is setting up a platform for the bins to sit on, so they're nice, neat, and tidy, and they're not wobbling. So that would be like a site prep, basically. If we did it, I averaged it on 3 loads of gravel each lane, how long it would take. Like, I went down to how long it would take each guy to do it. It was like 83 days to complete all of it. That's 2 lanes a day, roughly 3 loads of gravel per pad. Some will probably be less, some will probably be more, so I averaged it.
I'm just doing quick math here on my computer, so I might be off, but that looks like about, if there's 166 lanes, that's like $17,000 a bin for site prep, and the bins cost roughly $3,000 each. So if we remove the bin setup, set them somewhere along the roads, and we come up with some kind of shared model of payment with the lanes, that would remove roughly half of our initial year's bill.
So yeah, so I didn't know if anybody was gonna like kind of ask this question or not, so I thought I'd come kind of prepared with it. So I do have a price without the bin setup on how much it would work, like if we paid for the bin still, just no setup. So the in-house model, it would be 458 roughly estimated per household for the household, like the in-house work. And for the contractor, it'd be 279 for that first year startup.
So, as I said, we worked through a lot of details, but like one of the things that initially stood out to me is maybe we make a deal with the lanes that they do the site prep, we provide the bin, and that would save us $2.7 million off our first year's investment, which is half of what our costs are. So that was the first question. Then this,
You could also have a number of lanes go to an area that's close to them if there's a built-up area with 2 or 3 lanes close.
yeah. And so my kind of point with this conversation is obviously we're just doing napkin math at this point, but it just very quickly, you're able to cut that first year's bill in half, and it would significantly help each household. And then the second question I had is the total cost to taxpayers, is that the net cost once we remove the waste facilities we have now? So obviously we're not going to need as many waste staff and as many waste sites open. Has that been factored into the equation, or we're just talking about gross costs of doing the?
All high estimated gross costs. I mean, yes, we would close the other 2. Those 2 jobs would be, absorbed, but then we would also need 2 person per drive, like per truck. You need a couple on calls, so that way if there's vacation or sick time. So I mean, you're not really losing staff at
No.
in that
No, no.
case.
Absolutely.
If you're doing a contractor, yes, it'd be different for sure, because you wouldn't have any drivers, because it would be all up to the contractor. So you would just have, the supervisor or director, like I suggested.
Yeah. So when we look at what our waste sites cost now, just rough math again, I think they're roughly $400,000 for the 2 waste sites we could close, and that would then come off the costs. So we could significantly get these costs down. And then my follow-up question was the same question Philip had: is where do we take it from here? So how do we best work with you to get the numbers more fine-tuned so we can get a public media campaign going, have these public meetings with accurate information ahead of the election?
I mean, if I would love to have like your suggestions sent to me, so that way I could really fine tooth them and say, okay, bin setup, we'll take that out. We already know that's going to cut half. If we're leaning more towards one model versus the other, which one, like if you had more of a,
Specifics for you.
more specific, like if you wanted to go ahead with it, do you want to do it in-house and have more jobs for other people around the area? Or do you want to go contractor because it's going to be easier on everyone else's pocket? If I had a more, like going those 2, they're 2 totally different models, and it's 2 totally different ways to look at it. If you wanted one over the other, it's a little bit more narrowed down, and it's easier for me to be able to give you an actual number.
Okay, we're just a few more comments and then we're going to move on, or we're going to be here all night. Philip.
Sorry, I just thought of one more. And it's around the recycling. So you said there was no additional costs, and that means they're going to go around house to house and pick it up versus going to our waste sites. Okay.
Okay. Bill.
Sorry, just to point out, Madam Mayor, that's commercial pickup for recycling, and we're not allowed to do that. So we have to truck that down to Kingston as well. That's the blue box.
Yeah, so it would be all CMO commercial stuff. Yeah, we'd have to still truck it, I suppose. Yeah. So I mean, at that point, if we're closing both waste sites, we would set up the bins at Oso and just do it ourselves, like we're doing it, or at Olden, and just do it ourselves the way we are.
Okay, so we need to give you some more guidance if we want to continue to work on this. Oh, sorry, Lynn.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. What is the actual deadline date that we need to have something prepared? So if we wanted to put it as a referendum question.
May?
No, it's February the 20th.
Oh,
February 20th.
Yes, that's the,
Because I was going to say that I was part of the waste committee, and if it helps to open that committee back up, I'm open to that suggestion to help start pulling some more information together. But
you only have 10 days.
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So the way I read the referendum information is that when you put it on, whatever the decision is binding.
Mhm.
So the referendum question was by 2028.
Correct.
There
because you
would
wouldn't
be
get- you'd have to-
garbage.
Yeah.
So be careful what you're asking. Nikki.
Just to thank you, Madam Mayor, just to clarify, it's only binding if we get the 50% of the voters.
50 plus
50 plus. Yeah.
one or
Mhm.
something.
But it would also, if it's not, if we didn't get the 50 plus 1, it would also, but it would give direction to the next council that this is something that is interested in and we could follow up on.
The issue will be if it's 55 and it's set to go for 2028, then you got to find the money by 2028 to do it. So be careful what you ask for, because then you have to fund it. And just keep in mind how our budget decisions go and how much gets cut and left on the table every year, because we can't afford to do things. Not that this isn't a good idea, but is it the right time for this? Maybe our population needs to get a little bigger so that our base assessment is a little stronger before we commit ourselves to this kind of a cost. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. One more, and you and then Dan over here, because Dan hasn't had a chance.
So with all the comments you just made, I believe there's a public meeting component to the referendum questions, which will happen if
You'd
we
have
vote
to
yet.
do it on February 24th.
So we'd have to do it on February 24th.
Correct.
So once again, this is going to force us to make a lot of really quick decisions, because it is a huge, like shaving $3 million off this will change a lot of the public's perception of whether this should happen or not. So can we form a committee to deal with this and to help staff get this done in the next 14 days?
Can Amanda quit everything that she's doing and do all the numbers? Dan, maybe you can go ahead while we're thinking about your
I
question.
was just gonna say, Madam Mayor, we never get 50% of the voters to turn out to vote,
It's 50% of the vote.
Of the vote.
of the vote,
So if
but not the
only-
turnout of the actual population.
Yep.
It's the vote, not the people, no.
It's the number of votes.
It's number of votes.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
If it's
And
not,
okay,
Then it's just,
consent, it becomes an advisory.
yeah, that's how it is, yeah.
there you go. Maybe this would get them out. Now, your question was if we have a meeting before the 24th. This is a public meeting now, but I
We just
guess
have
we
to-
really need to advertise it again and specifically just talk about garbage.
And we can't, it can be on, because it'll be on the 24th of February, which is our regular council meeting, but you can have the public part of the meeting first and
Okay.
then go into.
Go ahead.
But you're saying it needs to be in by the 20th.
Yeah, we have the ministry, yeah.
Question on the ballot, we don't actually have to provide the question and pass the bylaw until the March 1st.
And sorry, and
Okay.
just to be clear, like, I'm not so concerned about the referendum question being in, because I think that's going to be pretty self-explanatory. It's making sure that the public has accurate information as soon as possible. And if we're going to hold a public meeting on the 24th, we need to have accurate information to present. So
That's
that's
correct.
4 more days.
I get what you're saying. I'm not totally comfortable that the information we're giving is accurate. And I don't think it's going to be. Like, this is estimated costs only. So if we're giving people, this is how much it's going to cost, I don't want my name on it, to be quite honest, because it's not accurate. It's just estimated. Because I'm only getting information from one company. There's billions out there. And I'm not getting full information.
Michael?
Just to keep in perspective, so we cut $3 million off. That sounds great. We're still at a 25% levy increase in the setup and a 10% levy increase in year 1 to 3, and we passed 4.9 this year.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Last call to make. My suggestion is we'll leave it this motion as is. When we get to the referendum question at the bottom, if council wants to go ahead with the referendum question, then I would suggest at that time we form a committee to help deal with this topic. We have a septic reinspection committee and we'll have another waste collection committee to deal with these 2 topics over this year. That's my suggestion.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave that discussion. We'll discuss it again when we get down to that question. All right, so the motion is that we receive the information. And we thank you, Amanda, for all the work that you did with this. All those in favor? Carried. Before we totally leave this topic, if you want Amanda to work on something different, such as your idea of a different kind of truck or something, then we need to give her that information as a council that that's what we want her to work on. Because right now, she's going with her best estimate of how it could be done. So if we want something different, we need to let you know. And we need to let you know as a group, not every one of us give you a different idea about what's going to happen. All right, so we're going to move on. We're going from garbage to custodial services. All right, moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the Kennebec District Custodial Service Recommendation Report for information, and that the Public Works Manager has reviewed and evaluated the tender submissions and is recommending that the contract be awarded to TK Cleaning Services, being the lowest compliant bidder at $18,500 excluding HST. Now therefore it be it resolved that council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager, and that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for custodial services for a term of 1 year in the Kennebec District, and that the mayor and CAO clerk be authorized to sign the final contract. Discussions? It's a little over the budget, but they all are. Susan and then Dan.
Through Madam Mayor, thank you. And I just want to head back and thank Amanda for all her work on the waste project. Yes, there were a number that were over budget. So my question is, what did we do wrong when we were budgeting? Or what didn't we take into account? And was there any themes between the various ones that were over? Was it labor? Was it materials? What did we underestimate?
To you, Madam Mayor, I think the Kennebec Hall specifically is the people that were cleaning it, that have been cleaning it for a while, probably have been doing it too low, and they've never really put their price up too much. So that's probably where we got caught there. But yeah, and they did Olden and Kennebec. So
Okay. Okay, Dan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wonder if there was any increase in cleaning services that needed to be done, and that's why the price increased. But it's still the same cleaning. And that's the situation for all the.
through you, Madam Mayor, like Sharper Lake will have the new washroom on it extra, and it's an everyday open and close and clean every day, so 365 days.
So this one? Any further comments, Nikki?
I have a question, but it wasn't directed towards this district. Are we asking all of our general questions first and then we're gonna vote on each district, or should I wait till we get to?
We're working each district motion.
thank you.
So, yeah. Okay, so all those in favor of the Kennebec 18,000? Carried. All right, now it's Olden, moved by Dan Meek, seconded by Bill Everett. The council received the Olden District Custodial Services Recommendation Report for information, and that the Public Works Manager has reviewed and evaluated the tender submissions and is recommending Cleaning with Clovey to be awarded, being the lowest and only bidder of $23,500 excluding HST. Now therefore be it resolved that council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager, and that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the custodial services for a 1-year term in the Olden District, and that the mayor and CAO clerk be authorized to sign the final contract. 23.5. Seems high for a hall that doesn't have a lot of use, eh?
Through you, Madam Mayor, again, it's the same cleaners that they were doing it probably too cheap. So
Okay. Okay. Dan and then Cindy?
Is there that much more activity at the Hitchenbrook site than Olden and Kennebec, where it was tendered or budgeted out for 13.5 compared to 9,000 budgeted on either Kennebec and Olden?
I don't know what those,
Through you, Madam Mayor. So Kennebec, I have the hall numbers that were rented from last year to this year. my goodness, 2024 to 2025.
Right.
So in 2024, Kennebec Hall saw 357 rentals. In 2025, it saw 456.
Okay.
Olden in 2024 saw 137 or 34 rentals. In 2025, it was 128.
Okay. So there's,
And Piccadilly was under 100 for both.
we haven't got to Piccadilly yet. Okay, did you have your hand up, Duncan? Yeah, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're also cleaning the library in Mountain Grove, and we're doing the snow shoveling for the library and for the hall. That's included in this tender amount.
Okay,
And in Kennebec, yeah, all of them.
okay. So it's not just inside the building. Okay. Oh, sorry, Cindy?
My question is, do we have time to retender? Did we give ourselves any, because we've talked about this before, a bit of time, so if we do get, if we get prices that we feel that are too high, we could retender and see where we're at with new people, but we don't have a time. Sorry. Okay.
Guarantee.
They are 1-year contracts. So within 1 year, you can retender if you're not happy with the service. And maybe keep track of the amount of work again. See how it. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. All right, now we are at, we did Olden, right? Yes,
Now your nose.
here we go. Moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council received the Oso District Custodial Services Recommendation Report for information, and that the Public Works Manager has reviewed and evaluated the tender submissions and is recommending that the contract be awarded to Winkle Cleaning Services, being the most compliant bidder at $77,511, excluding HST. Now therefore be it resolved that council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager, and that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for custodial services for a term of 1 year in the Oso District, and that the mayor and CEO clerk be authorized to sign the final contract. How many uses has this one had? Duncan?
A question and a comment. So this is obviously including the library in Sherbert Lake at the separate building? Okay, so I just want council to be aware of that. The second thing is, I've already spoken to Steve. The washroom committee is willing to reach out to some of the user groups of the new washroom facility to help offset those maintenance costs. So yes, the tender went up, but hopefully we can get some of that covered by the snowmobile clubs, ATV clubs, et cetera, just so everyone's aware.
So you're saying some revenue to come in against the,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, all right. Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of questions. So the first one is, there's quite a difference between some of the bids. So can you just justify a bit where you think it went up, and then I'll ask my second question.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Because a couple of these contractors, or one specifically, has worked for us in the past and did a great job. So they were awarded their areas back again. The other two contractors are new to the area, and I think in the past where we've had contractors bid on all 4 areas and we've only awarded to one, sometimes they've impressed us and did a great job and they get more areas next time. Sometimes it doesn't work out that great. So it's a 1-year thing. If they do great, then I know I'd be willing to give them more next year. So.
Okay, and my second question was, 2 years ago, we'd asked for a price to do it in-house rather than contracted out. Where do these prices compare to the price we had to hire our own staff?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have it at the top of here. We'll have to look it up in the report.
I think with this particular hall and the washroom, a staff person would be around the same range as this quote. But I think for the other jobs, the other districts, you wouldn't pay for a staff to do those individuals, or maybe if you doubled them up, I think you'd be looking at 2 staff.
Yeah, because the majority is in this building itself. So, I mean, and she's probably doing it 4 and 5 hours, twice a week. because of being upstairs, downstairs. And then all the snow shoveling, when we have the snow, they come in, they shovel all the snow. And then, yes, the washroom, I think at the beach is going to be increases quite a bit as well.
Plus the library.
Plus the library, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Hinchinbrook, moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. The council received the Hinchinbrook District Custodial Services Recommendation Report for information, and that the Public Works Manager has reviewed and evaluated the tender submissions and is recommending that the contract be awarded to Vinkle Cleaning Services, being one of the lowest and compliant bidder at $13,187, excluding HST. Now therefore be it resolved that council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager, and that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the custodial services for a one-year term in the Hinchinbrook District, and that the mayor and CEO clerk be authorized to sign the final contract. Nikki.
Sorry, I just thought of another question. If something happens and we are satisfied, is there a clause in here to say that we can extend the contract and not have to re-tender it?
Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda's nodding out down there. Okay, any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. All right. Moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Dan Meeks. The council received the report regarding the management of Canadian geese at the municipal beaches for information. And further, that council does not direct, so we've got to choose one or the other, staff to proceed with option 4, the combined preventative approach to address geese impacts at municipal beaches as outlined in the report. I know that Marlene Bertram would be very happy if we did something. Dan and then Nikki.
I did send an email. It's a report from a company that actually so it's a 97% success rate. Since last year they sold 37,000, and there's 6 months money back guarantee if it doesn't work for us in this area.
Really?
And they'll help you set up a program to get rid of the geese.
Nikki, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We know it's a very bad problem at the beach here in Sharpet Lake, but it says Township beaches. What other beaches? Is it a hindrance at other beaches?
So you, Madam Mayor, as far as I know, it's just Sharpet Lake right now.
Duncan.
So I've spent a considerable amount of my own time on this problem because I thought it was as simple as just having the dogs chase the geese off or me chase the geese off, which works somewhat effectively for about 5.5 minutes. I also spent hours of my life contacting other municipalities, other rec committees. I've spoke to someone who all the way from Dartmouth to Ottawa to South Frontenac, and every single one of them have said the same thing. The geese problem is not solvable, and you end up dumping a ton of money into a problem year after year after year, and the geese are still there. So when you look at our neighbors to the south, Kingston, Toronto, any of the big cities, they're not able to solve the goose problem. So therefore we are not, unless we use guns. So it basically came down to, if we're going to go ahead with this route, the only way to do it is by destroying the nesting sites or getting kill permits for the geese. So my suggestion to council is to not spend a single cent unless you're willing to go to that extreme. So unless we're willing to apply for the permits to kill the geese on the beach, just don't waste any money on it and don't waste any staff time. South Frontenac is our closest neighbor who's tackled this problem. 2 years ago, they hired a full-time summer student who just deals with geese. All he does every day is pick up goose excrement and chase geese off the beach, and it's still not working. So
Tell me, when it's nesting time, which is early spring, if those nests are destroyed, which I guess you're destroying eggs as well, would that not do it for the next year?
you lose them. So I had a pretty good handle on it this summer for the spring, and I used the dogs to push them away. That worked until they just outswam them, and that kept them away for, I'm going to say, 6 to 8 weeks during nesting period, and then they immediately returned as the babies, the goslings, started to get a little older around the middle of August, and then Marlene took on the problem, and she did a very good job for about 4 weeks, until she basically wasn't able to keep up with it anymore, and then they just came back in groves. I think there was 60 at the beach in September.
I literally was on the steps of the grocery store and it was like the geese were right beside me. They were so loud. Jody.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to clarify that we cannot destroy the nests or eggs through the Migratory Birds Act, I believe. We have to stop them from nesting. So it's deterrence, like Doug was advising the dogs to chase them, but you cannot destroy the nests.
Okay, guess that's out and so are the guns. Okay, so option 4 was, I don't remember all the details of it, but it was kind of like building structures to scare them away.
There was options of snow fence we could try to put up and
Some orange tape and
deterrence. Yeah, and I just I don't know if it'll work or not.
kids might like that.
Well, and I know, Dan, that's a good idea, and maybe on a private beach that would be great, but we have a lot of vandalism, and I don't know if they would last very long out there.
Okay, so this wants us to either direct or not direct. So council direct or not direct staff to proceed with option 4 as outlined. Go ahead, Susan.
Through Madam Mayor, there were no financial costs associated with or set out in your report for option 4. Are you able to cover that without any financial consequences or?
You, Madam Mayor, I think we're looking for a direction from council to see where we wanted to go further with this, like before we spend a whole bunch of time in different options, and maybe that's not the option you want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so what do we want to do? Duncan?
So I think we move for deferral until we can come up with a lot more information about a system that, like you suggested, Dan, or a system that's fully thought out as far as how much it's going to cost us, and bring it back to make that decision
Before spring.
before spring.
Okay, Dan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Would it be possible, Steve, to send everybody else the link for that site so they can have a look themselves and see what they think about it?
You, Madam Mayor, yeah, I'll have it sent to you tomorrow.
Okay. So we've got a deferral. All those in favor of deferring? Carried. All right, so Steve will send us that information and we'll come back maybe next meeting. All right, we are at, does anybody want a little break? It's 20 to 8. No, we're going to be here till 10 o'clock. Okay, we did the geese. Here we're parking now. Moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Philip Smith, that council received the report regarding the updated parking bylaw considerations for information, and that council is satisfied with the Public Works Manager recommendation to allow parking in selected locations at the Crow Lake and Long Lake Beach until an alternate solution can be considered. And further, that council directs staff to investigate or not investigate potential properties or locations that may be suitable for parking near Crow Lake and Long Lake beaches, and to report back to council if directed to do so. In other words, if parking has been happening there all along and nobody's complained, do we want to go further? Just let it happen as it's been doing. Okay. Dan and then Duncan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Did we look into, Steve, on the other side toward Drew Point? Do we own any land there that we could turn into parking area, or is that township? Is that part of our?
You, Madam Mayor, on the same side as the beach you're talking, Dan?
Yeah.
There's a little spot there maybe for a car or two that looks like people have been parking there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we want to advertise it, we can, but people park there anyways, so there's not very much property there to
There's
park.
not very much we could make it a
Maybe
little
one
bigger.
car, maybe two if you're lucky.
Okay.
Okay. Philip.
First, thanks for highlighting on the maps where we can potentially park. But I think at this point, let's just carry on and leave it as it is with how it's highlighted on the maps now.
Duncan.
Yeah, I second what Councillor Smith said. You've highlighted it. people have been parking there for years. Let them keep parking there and don't bother looking into it anymore unless it becomes an issue.
Okay, so the council directs staff to not investigate potential properties or locations that may be suitable for parking at Crow Lake and Long Lake, and to report back to council if directed to do so. So you won't need to do that. Okay. To not investigate. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, zoning bylaw, moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Bill Everett. The council received the education enforcement penalty options report as prepared by the planning coordinator for information, and that council consider and provide guidance with respect to potential fees, structures, and enforcement tools to address development occurring without required planning approvals or permits. And further, that council provide comment in writing to the planning coordinator by March 3rd, 2026. Okay, Abigail, we had a report with some options and some pricing. Who wants to go first? Duncan.
My only question is, when it comes to the penalties or administrative fees, will you have some discretion as staff as to where that's appropriate? So, or is it just, sorry, will you have some direction as to when that's appropriate to apply those? Or is it just a blanket? If you bill without a permit, you get the fee?
I think to remain transparent and fair to all residents, that the process and certainly the expectation is that if I've received a minor variance application as a result of a compliance issue with the building department, they are charged the increased fee as an automatic start. That covers the additional review time for staff, one additional site visit for both me and Jenny to attend the site, on top of the one that is already included in the application fee. So that's 2 site visits. There's cases where we have to go out many more times than that, and with other staff who we do not have a mechanism to bill for that time.
Okay, Dan, you had your hand up.
Well, thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wonder if the severity of whether that could be increased from 500 to your discretion on, like $500 isn't that much for somebody that's, going ahead.
I agree that $500 is probably light, but I would urge council to be to remember that this is intended to be cost recovery only and not punitive action.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so the motion basically says if we have any further comments or recommendations, to send those by March 3rd, and then we'll deal with it at our March meeting. Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Good. Thank you, Abby. Motion moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Lynn Clegus, that council receive the report entitled Envision Contract for Natural Heritage Consultation as prepared by the planning coordinator for information, and that further that council authorize the mayor and CAO to enter into and execute an agreement with Envision Consultants Limited for natural heritage consulting services. We do know that the county is doing a study on natural heritage stuff too, eh? Go ahead, Abby.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to council. So this initiative really came about, I think it was started probably by the county, but in response to the provincial government limiting the Conservation Authority's ability to comment on natural heritage features. They're still very important to planning staff, and we still feel a responsibility that those need to be protected. And the only way to do that is to have a qualified consultant to review the cases where it's warranted.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Great. Cats. Moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that the feral and free roaming cat report be received for information as prepared by the deputy clerk. Comments?
Through you, Madam Mayor, this report was created just for information based on the feedback received from a member of the public at last week's, the last meeting of council.
It had some good information as to what can be done, and I honestly believe we need to take some action. So let's think about this and maybe bring it back at the next meeting. Go ahead, Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you think that because we've really stepped up our social media game, we could have some type of blurb? Like I wrote down 3 agencies in the Kingston area: Kendra's Community Kitties, the Forgotten Ferals, and Spray Neuter Kingston Initiative, that maybe we start randomly advertising that these initiatives are out there. You can reach out to them. They're very good programs. And some help could be done that way before we go and instigate anything that might be overreaching or beyond what is controllable.
Yeah. Okay, Susan?
So, thank you to our deputy clerk for preparing this report and for the options that you've set out. And I certainly like the option that you've recommended, which is looking at developing a policy with referral to resources, as Councillor Gowdy mentioned. So
I like the idea of catch and have them fixed and get them adopted instead of just putting them back in. Lynn?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I also agree with the option number 3 seems the most desirable to me, but I think in preface, even before anything further, just some general education online would be good. It complements if we go with that option. So we can just start with as Nikki said, educate.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I do believe that our bylaw officer currently does educate when she receives calls regarding cats, feral cats or free roaming cats. And I do believe she does refer to many of those organizations. When I discussed the report with her, she did mention she had connections with several of them. The communication piece is a great idea.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay.
Now we're on the question.
Moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. Whereas Section 8(1)(b) and C of the Municipal Elections Act 1996 authorizes a municipality to submit one or more questions to electors on the ballot during a municipal election by bylaw. And whereas council has expressed an interest in placing one or more binding questions on the ballot for the 2026 municipal election. And whereas subject to compliance with all legislative requirements, the following questions be placed on the ballot. Are you in favor of the township implementing a municipal garbage collection program beginning in 2028 to be funded through property taxes? And 2, are you in favor of the township continuing the septic reinspection program to be funded through property taxes? Now, therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff to initiate the process required under the Municipal Elections Act 1996 to place binding questions as proposed in the report on the ballot for the 2026 municipal elections. Go ahead, Jody.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment that the resolution is talking about binding questions. There is an option about putting non-binding questions on. And with the previous discussion that we had earlier, I thought maybe perhaps I would mention that to councils that you can put a non-binding question on the ballot as well. So it would give your future council direction. I will admit that that report originally was about 10 pages long, Kathy. And it was difficult to select what information to put in that report. So I do apologize. I thought it was important to mention that if we decided not to do binding question, that is another option.
Duncan.
So I have no comments. I'll let the rest of council speak, but what I'd suggest is maybe we divide this motion and talk about each one separately.
We can.
And that I won't let everybody else speak.
Sure, okay, Philip?
So now I have a question about, can we have a question that's binding and a question that's non-binding? Because I thought we were only allowed one question.
No, you can have more than one question.
So in theory, we could ask both of these questions and be
Yes, you
binding.
could.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'm not sure you could have one that's binding.
Binding and
one
one's
that's
not binding. I can't remember what the legislation says.
Well, anyhow, that's more
no.
questions than I thought we were allowed to ask, so.
Taking so long, it just shut off. Okay, Duncan, you wanted to do one first.
I was just suggesting that we don't clump them together if council felt that way, but
Oh.
that was just my suggestion. It doesn't have to, and I'll let council speak before I have any other comments.
Okay, Lynn?
To Duncan's point, I feel that unless we have further discussion about the garbage collection, we're not ready to put that as a question out there yet. We need far more information to let people have an informed decision.
Would you be willing to put it if it was not a binding question? To find out if people are interested in it?
I still would like some kind of number on that that told people a little bit more information.
Of cost.
Of cost. As Michael had presented, or something to give people a rough idea of what they're looking at.
Okay. Who next? Nikki?
For the garbage, I do like the idea of an unbinding question, and then we do have time before the election period starts to get better figures. So, you know, if it's unbinding, we work towards it. So anybody that is going to be out campaigning in the next election, they can say, oh, it's this amount, it's going to be for the first year, and the following years, it'll be this amount. And we have time to get that information on an unbinding question.
Yeah, and you might still only end up with a range, but at least you'd have a range. Okay. Jody?
Just to clarify through you, Madam Mayor, it's just the way the question is asked on the ballot to make it binding or unbinding, so we can reword them to become unbinding, where it's, you know, would you be interested in garbage pickup for a certain amount on the budget? Though they can be reworded. So I believe, to the earlier comment, we could have different questions on there based on my thought process through how the question is asked.
Because this one is, are we in favor? So that's not very binding. I can be in favor of it now and not 3 hours from now.
Yeah. Through you, Madam Mayor, that would have to be vetted by the legal team. I believe Kathy and I discussed that. We would have to take it to the lawyers.
And the same word, the favor, is used for the septic reinspection. Okay, Philip and then Duncan.
So I'd like to see the septic reinspection program asked, in particular, but I also think it's a fair point to tell people how much they're needing to pay then for each septic system that's being inspected. Yeah.
What is the cost? 120, 150?
Well, that's what the homeowner is paying for their inspection, right? Like, that's not the overall cost of the inspection.
No, well, for Mississippi Rito septic to services office to come out, it's what, $125. That's the fee that's paid. And it's only if you're having the septic reinspection.
But do we not pay them? Sorry, I thought we paid them a fee as well.
Where's Michael? Michael's gone.
We do pay, we pay the
Contract with the Mississippi Valley. You pay a contract price for that.
But that number is escaping me right now. But I mean, it's not insignificant. So it's not like it's $150 per system.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, I believe it was $1,000 for the season.
Yep.
For the contract.
For the contract.
Huge. Okay, Cindy?
Okay, so with the government, what's going on with our conservation authorities? It was discussed at our Mississippi Valley Conservation that we may be put in a different category now because of the whole amalgamating, and that they are doing the septic inspections. So that price could go up here shortly, just so you know.
Thank you. But also by doing that program, you're paying for staffing as well. So, you know, if a ballpark a staff member at $70,000, like that's on the taxpayers tab as well. That's included in the budget and it's levied to the taxpayer. So the cost of the program might only be 1,000 plus any other incidentals, plus hiring a staff. So you're right, Philip, it is significant. It's not insignificant, the amount that's.
A pollution of a lake is a big cost to all of us. So if it saves that, anyway, Duncan and then Susan.
So, first of all, thank you to council for like even entertaining these referendum questions, because there are two issues. The first issue about the garbage collection. I think in order for us to, for the future council, the next council to spend $6.7 million, they need a clear mandate. It needs to come out of council's hands and go back into our taxpayers' hands. It's up to anyone that's running for re-election to make sure that the best information available is out there to the public. It's up to our staff to make sure that our taxpayers over the next 6 months have the best information available. So to Councillor Cleggis's point, yes, we don't have a lot of information right now, but we don't have to make the decision, or sorry, taxpayers don't have to make the decision until next October. So it gives this October. This October. It gives 6 or 7 months for staff to get the best information available out there, as well as throughout the elections process. So the information will become available. So that's with question number one. The $6.7 million price tag needs to be left in the hands of taxpayers, and I believe it needs to be binding so that the next council has a clear-cut decision to spend that money. And then when you look at question number two, I've watched the septic reinspection program at this council table, even myself personally, flip-flop back and forth on whether we think the program is viable and go ahead or to not go ahead. And we've been split. And because of that, in my opinion, whether septic reinspection is good or not, we have a program right now that's not running as good as it could be. So I think by setting the next council up to continue with the program and fund it properly as directed by taxpayers is equally as important as taxpayers saying we do not want this program in municipality, shut it down. And it's up to the septic reinspection committee and staff again to make sure the best information is available to taxpayers for that decision in October.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say? Oh, Susan.
Through Madam Mayor. So I'm just going to speak to the septic reinspection issue. And I'm going to remind everyone about the strategic plan and the consultations that we had with the public and the focus groups about what was important to our residents. And it came out loud and clear that our lakes and our natural environment are a priority. So septic reinspection is a way of preserving our groundwater, our lakes, and at every lake association meeting that I've attended, I've heard how the quality of our lakes has changed. And so I do think it's important. I also recognize that there are problems with the way the program has been delivered. We've had a services and organizational review. There are recommendations. We haven't given it the opportunity to see if that's going to work. So I think it's premature. So I'm not in favor of the question. And as for the garbage pickup, I'm not in favor of a binding question because I don't think there's enough information to get an informed decision from our taxpayers.
Just to add to that, the only way you will get a contractor nailed down is to do a quote. And there's not a lot of people around with a big truck. So to say to Amanda, we're going to use your number in our campaign is putting a lot of weight on her shoulders with these numbers. So I too would agree with a non-binding question because again, if Michael's talking 10%, that's huge that's just one item of the budget. Susan?
And one other thing that I would ask council to keep in mind, Road 38. You know, at some point, we're going to have to repave Road 38. Just think about that cost. It's over $1 million a kilometer.
We're still paying the debt from the last time we fixed it. So, the discussion was that we could make it not binding questions if that's what council wants for both of them. It would still give the next council the feedback from the people, what they think about these programs. I would bet you, other than lake people, when you talk about the septic reinspection program, not too many people even understand it. But they will have an opinion maybe if they know more about it between now and the time that the actual ballot is out. Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I agree with you're going to get more opinions on the ballot than you have for the strategic plan. We had 163 or 200 responses for the survey for the strategic plan, and you're going to get many more than that come out to vote, guaranteed. And if they answer the question, it might give some direction to the next council.
But it would be good if it's not binding, because if you have a bridge go out, you're not going to have money to pick up garbage. Lynn?
I also agree with both of them being non-binding, and I also feel that if we, on our social media feeds, do a big promotion on any more information we can provide about both of those throughout the entire time until the election, so that people have a constant reminder of more information than they know right now about garbage and the septic reinspection.
Okay, good. So does this motion say anywhere here about binding, Jody?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so
You'd put it as non-binding if that's
So-
it's up on that page.
we could,
Madam Mayor,
it's
yeah.
right here too.
It's there.
Okay, so we need to do an amendment to this if we want it to say not binding. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Lynn, seconded by Nikki. That the question be non-binding. You guys can do the wordsmithing.
For sure.
Okay, so vote on the amendment first. All those in favor of the motion to say non-binding for the two questions? And opposed? Carried. Okay, now the motion itself on the two questions, excluding the fact that it says binding, but it's non-binding. All those in favor? Opposed? Do that again, because people didn't vote. Okay, do you want to read it? Do you want me to read it again? Right,
This is original.
yes, right. Okay, so all those in favor? I am too.
Make it binding. The question now is non-binding or binding?
That question was non-binding. So everything that's in this motion, but non-binding was approved. So now the motion is the two
Binding.
questions being binding.
Mhm.
So all those in favor? Against? Defeated. Got it. It's getting late, folks. All right. We are now at Philip Smith and Nikki Gowdy, that council confirmed the direction given at the January 27 council meeting regarding municipal support resolutions, and that staff be directed to send a letter to the independent electricity systems operator requesting the removal of support resolution requirements from its tendering and procurement processes, and that staff be directed to develop a policy governing the processing of all municipal support resolutions or letters of support for council's review and consideration. Discussion. This stems from the presentation by Ms. Godzich.
That's right. I want to mention to council as well, and I think Councillor Irwin may be able to, she was on the, I guess the webinar or whatever they were doing for the IESO. And there is a municipal guide. So she doesn't think that necessarily that a letter will work. We should look at that guide. So I'd like to, myself, I haven't had a chance to look at that. I'd like to look at it to see what it says as to whether or not, you know, a letter would help or not at this point. So we might want to just hold off on this one until we get the further information on this. But I mean, I'll leave it to Councillor Irwin if she wants to say any more about what she had learned at that session. I was unable to be at it, so.
Essentially.
Yep. Yeah.
So the webinar by the IESO talked about the process, but the municipal support letter is kind of the first way of screening the various projects. And so in order to consider which projects are going to pass that step, they want to know that the municipality will entertain hosting the electrical site. And that we agreed to that based on the information that was provided to us at a prior council meeting. And I don't see that they're going to change that requirement. So we can send a letter, but I don't think it's going to have any real impact.
Okay. All right, Nikki.
Well, and I have been on 2 other webinars, and I get their emails regularly, and it's number 2 in the municipal guide that is to get a letter of support. But I also think that as the information we've now all been made aware of, it is premature for them to ask a municipality to support a project that hasn't been, you know, any of the studies done or any other investigation has been done. And I don't think a letter is going to hurt. Like, we have a voice, we are who we are. We have kind of been enlightened and educated on things not being, in our opinion, not being done or the right way. And so I don't think that sending a letter is going to hurt at all to them.
Through Madam Mayor, if I may respond, I didn't say it would hurt. I just don't think it's going to make a significant difference in the practice of the IESO because it.
Okay, Philip.
We do lots of letters and lots of things that don't make a difference. So, and I agree with Councillor Gowdy that, you know, at least them knowing that we think the system is not working the way it should for municipalities. I think that's important. And more importantly, making sure that we develop the policy on how council wants to have these things brought to us and some guidance to staff to understand what we're looking for. So.
Yeah, good. Okay, Susan.
I certainly agree with the policy that we need when there is a project funder, that we need to know what the criteria are, what parameters there are for consultation, to identify the issues and concerns that might arise, the stakeholders, and consider the various modalities for consultation. I think it would be very prudent to have a policy.
Yeah, I think we were caught off guard with this one. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Committee or other reports? No. Communication correspondence for action? No. Bylaws agreements? No. Notice of motion?
There's a giving a notice.
Giving of notice of motion. Councillor Gowdy hereby gives notice of motion regarding Alto Rail. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith, whereas section 12.2 of the procedural bylaw number 2023-53 as amended governs the process for the introduction of notices of motion. And whereas council has received a notice of motion from Councillor Gowdy regarding Alto Rail, and Councillor Gowdy has requested the notice of motion be introduced at the February 10th, 2026 meeting. And whereas Section 3.3 of the procedural bylaw 2023-53, as amended, permits council to suspend the rules and regulations for a single occasion by resolution with the approval of at least 2/3 of council. Now therefore it be resolved that council suspend Section 12.2 of the procedural bylaw number 2023-53, as amended, for the purpose of allowing the notice of motion regarding Alto Rail to be introduced and, if seconded, debated and considered at the February 10th, 2026 regular meeting of council. There's a lot in that motion. Okay, so first of all, we need to see if there are 6 people, which is 2/3, that want to approve this motion. So, Bill, question first?
Can we talk about it first? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
You can
'cause-
talk about the action, not the subject.
Correct.
Okay, but I would like to confirm a few things before anybody has to vote. And it's not that I am for or against Alto Rail.
So you want to talk about the actual Alto?
I want to talk about the actual motion for tonight's
No,
meeting.
you can't. No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we need 2/3 of the people in order to discuss this motion.
Mhm.
Yes, yes,
To discuss it.
to discuss it,
To discuss it first.
just to
Discuss it.
although it does say and to consider it at the February 10th regular meeting.
You consider it.
So we're going
So-
to be able to talk about it and then the motion.
Okay, yes. Okay, I need 6 people to say yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, all right. So that's moving along. Now you can talk about Alto.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Oh. Oh, there
Make
was,
sure that she does have a
there
second.
was,
Yeah, it's Philip was the seconder.
yeah. Okay, now.
Thank you,
Oh,
Madam
yeah.
Mayor. I am against this notice of motion, like I said, not because I'm for or against Alto, because 4 days is insufficient time for anybody to do proper research. And part of our complaint is that Alto has not given us enough information. Well, to me, that's the same thing. There are a couple of things here that maybe people don't know. The first is the high-frequency rail was started in 2016 by the Trudeau government. The Trudeau government canceled it in 2025 after 9 years. But what they might not have told you is that the high-speed rail was tendered in 2023. The tender was awarded in 2024. In 23 and 24, we were all complaining about the rail coming through Sharbot Lake, but it had already been canceled. Lack of information. In September of last year, the Carney government finally put his nation-building major project office for Canada in a conditional arrangement for Alto Rail. It gave them 5 years to do a study for the rail itself, and that's only the study. So they have to be considered for the rail. They have to be shovel ready in 2030. And then the Canadian government will decide if they're going to build this rail or not. Okay, it's a $120 billion proposal. And the way the world is right now, we might not want to spend that. But anyway, my point is, we have enough time to consider this without agreeing to this motion in only 4 days. My other point to this is, in 2021, the Sharbot Lake Business Group, the Sharbot Lake Via Rail Station Committee, and the Shabbat all advocated for a Highway 7 corridor for Via Rail. And one of the things they said was there's plenty of undeveloped land and prices are reasonable. But now all of a sudden, we don't want a rail or in that corridor. But that's not the proposed corridor. The corridor is from Peterborough, north of Northbrook, through North Frontenac, through Mississippi Mills, into Ottawa. That's the shortest route at about 235 kilometers. Okay, it does say that it might tip into Central Frontenac in a place or two, but their plan is to follow Road 506, not Central Frontenac. So I just don't think we need to circumvent rules and regulations and make this such a quick decision when it could be, people could have time to think and it could be brought up at the next meeting.
Okay. Given that, it has been approved to be discussed by the 2/3. Yeah, just, and I lived all of those dates you talked about, and at one point we were promised the world. We were going to have our medical center used as a station, and they were going to build us a brand new one. So yeah, when it comes to Alto and what their promises are and where it happens. Other discussions on this? Nikki, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, thank you. The proposed map actually does go through Central. It comes down through Snow Road and across through 509 and through Henderson. And the center of Henderson is in the center of the 10-kilometer swath that is going to cut through our area. It's going to bisect it. It's going to cut people's properties in half. I went on and did the online consultation on January 31st. I'm going to go to South Frontenac next Wednesday. They're still saying the same company line that they did in North Frontenac and South Frontenac and here. There's no stops. So the business group, when they approved that motion, was because they were promised to stop here. Now there's no stop. So you're going to make roads dead ends. There's been no environmental studies done. You're going to cut people's property in half. And it's a 10-kilometer swath they need. And the reason they need it is because of the turn radius is needed if they ever have to put a turn in. And they're going to buy now for future expansion as well, which I'm actually in favor of that part, that they're thinking ahead so they don't have to come back and expropriate later. But a lot of people are very upset. They don't want to lose their property. They don't want to see anything bad happen to the environment. We have enough problems, for example, snow plowing our roads on the loops we have now. What's going to happen when now we have all these dead end roads because they've bisected it? They're not going to go over, they're not going to go under. It's going to create another world of problem. And they decide on property taxes. I'd asked Kathy about it and then I did research. The federal government comes down and they'll say, maybe we say it that the property taxes are going to be $1,000 and they're going to say, no, our formula says you're only going to get a portion of that, or you might get it all, but they decide. They don't go by what we're saying. So where is the benefit for Central Frontenac and its residents to have this high-speed rail going through our communities? And that's why, from people who have reached out, all the investigation I have done, all the reading I've done, blowing up maps and looking at maps, it just seemed like something that, as again, we have a voice, and could we use it?
Okay. Lynn.
I'm reading in what you've written up here saying that to have it be resolved that with the limited information that we've got, I think it is a good idea for us to let them know that we're not in support of what they're proposing, just so they're aware of that. At this point, it is only very limited information, and it's only going to be for their information to find out how we feel, that we we do want a voice about this. So I'd be in favor of this. Second thing I just want to quickly raise is there are numerous open houses coming where they're supposed to be sharing more information. Could we make sure that on our social media feeds that we are advertising to let people know? Okay, good.
I want to add one more thing. I think we need to support it going to Kingston, through Kingston, not through South Frontenac, but through Kingston. So there's a stop, and at least it would be of some help to Eastern Ontario. I'm not going to drive to Peterborough to get on a train, and I'm certainly not going to drive to Ottawa to get on a train. But if it were Kingston, yes, we would go to Toronto as we do now, go to Ottawa, go to Montreal. So the logical place is to put it somewhere in Kingston. I know it probably means houses and all that stuff. There's no good place for this thing to go through any of our countryside, but it has to go somewhere if they decide it's going to go. So we can tell them what we wish and hope for the best. Duncan and then Philip.
So I was pretty clear about how I feel about the Alto Rail project at the last council meeting I was at, when I basically was insulted by the lack of information they're willing to share with a municipality where they're talking about putting potentially a 10-kilometer swath of track through. So that's number one. Number two, I came in budget time for 2026 and asked for a staff position to act as a liaison, as the Alto Rail project being one of the potential projects they're working on. And it was turned down by council. And so I look at Councillor Gowdy's motion, really like the motion. I'm very happy we're going to send the letter. We're going to do it in a way that sounds like we're pretty upset with the project. But as Councillor Smith and Councillor Irwin pointed out during our last motion, letters really don't seem to go anywhere. So I once again ask council if we can look into or hire a staff or a liaison or a consulting firm to act on our behalf to get through the noise, because every single municipality that's affected by this rail right now are sending these letters. I'm sure they're piling up on the ministers and the Alto CEO's desk as high as we can see. So my question again to council is, what can we do to stand out from the rest of the herd that's having these exact same conversations to make sure Central Frontenac is respected? Because this current process of you think one thing, I think another, I go to an open house, you don't go to the open house, is not going to work. And we're going to end up 6, 7, 8, 15 years down the road without a voice, and we're just going to literally get bulldozed over. So the question becomes, through you, Madam Mayor, I do an amendment to this motion to request that staff look into hiring a liaison or options to hire a liaison to act on our behalf with Alto Rail discussions?
Do you want my opinion? I don't believe this township should put money into anybody to go to Alto to try and change their mind about where they're going. I think, first of all, we need to wait to find out exactly where they're going to go. I think ours is the least attractive to them. I think we push for Kingston. It is going to happen whether we stomp our feet or lay down on the track or whatever we want to do. It's federal government. They have the power to do what they want to do. Yes, let's tell them we don't like it. They've been told that by many. I've told them that for 10 years, but nobody likes it. And it's pitting North and Central against South. We want it to go south or to Kingston. They don't want it to go there. They probably prefer that it come here. So it's a game. We can write our letter and hope for the best, but I don't think having staff time and hiring somebody to go and talk to Alto saying, this little township doesn't like it, not going to make any difference. Nikki.
The motion from South Frontenac, through you, Madam Mayor, the motion from South Frontenac last week was to put it through Kingston as well. It was, we don't want it here. They didn't actually push for us whatsoever. They said if Kingston wants it so bad, put it in Kingston. We just don't want it in South Frontenac. But I had used their motion as a guide, and I had tweaked it and took out the portion about sending it to Kingston. But now is the time for public consultation. That's what they're doing right now is public consultation. So, you know,
Yeah, now's the time to get it
Yeah.
in for sure. Philip?
So although I agree Kingston wants this, or at least their MPP wants it, their MP, I think the motion, the way it is, we're talking about our municipality and our needs and our wants. I don't want to be the person that says, I don't want it in my backyard, but it can certainly go down there. So I think that's why the way the motion's written is how I could sign off on it and say, I'm okay with this. Because it's how it's affecting Central Frontenac.
For sure, for sure. I'm just thinking logically to serve our people, Kingston would be the place for it. If it's not going to be a station in here or in South Frontenac, maybe there's a hope for Kingston being a city. All right. Philip, what's your name? Duncan. Duncan,
So I-
over there.
I apologize. I'll sleep better tonight if I at least motion for the amendment. So I'm going to suggest an amendment that staff bring back a report with potential options for staffing the liaison position. Okay, that's my amendment, with the comment being, we don't have to commit to it. We can pull the trigger 6 months, a year down the road, and it might give a good opportunity to reach out to our other municipal partners, as Councillor Smith had suggested. Maybe North Frontenac and South Frontenac are willing to share a position to get the tracks moved to Kingston. So I'm pushing for the amendment to add to the motion.
Okay, do you have a seconder? Okay, you got all that?
No. It's in the recording, so yeah.
Good.
Sorry, essentially, Kat, sorry, just so I'm clear, you can write this however you want. We're not committing, we're not hiring someone. We're just asking you to bring back a report that said, here are the options available to us if we wanted to hire a liaison, if we wanted to hire a consulting firm or whatever we decide to do.
Mhm. Okay.
So you want costs of somebody, availability of somebody to be a liaison?
Costs, options, maybe looking at exploring municipal partners, like maybe North and South are interested in this as well.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yes.
can I have some clarity, please, and thank you?
No.
So if we vote for the amendment, then we're gonna vote against the motion, the original motion. Or are
You're adding on?
are you adding on? I'm mixed
The
up.
amendment to the motion is everything you wrote here and that.
And to
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah, you can still accept both.
Mhm.
One doesn't cancel the other.
Because it's just an amendment. It's all he's doing is putting an addition to that motion.
Bill has a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So that still removes this hurry up motion. No, but it's voted on tonight.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
they're both going to be voted.
then I will take my name off as second.
Is that second?
Did you get that? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so on the amendment first, that staff do the.
And can
all
I get a
these
recorded
respect-
vote just so we're not so.
I'll make
confused?
this difficult.
But did you not want this same resolution, but you just want to add on about the liaison?
Yes, I'm not.
Still have to do two. You were still gonna have to
Yeah.
do two, I think, anyway.
I apologize.
Oh, you should,
I-
you should.
I'm
Look
hoping
at
you
the
can read
time.
this whole motion, add the and that, and then read the whole motion again, just
I
to,
think that's.
No,
and a recorded vote.
So there's the recorded vote. This is the ones for the recorded vote.
all
Put it
right.
in, we'll finish the rest of it off.
But I do have a cane with me tonight. Just keep that in mind. So we're voting on the amendment to have staff do research and come back.
Liaison, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Option.
Philip Smith, what's your name there?
Yes.
Yes, okay, Dan. Nikki,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Susan,
No.
Bill,
No.
Lynn,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
and Fran is a no. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 yeses win, so it's carried.
Mhm.
That's the
Amended. motion.
amended. Now, the actual motion, I guess I have to read this, eh? Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith. Whereas Alto, a federal crown corporation whose role it is to establish a high-speed rail network between Toronto and Quebec City, has recently released possible route options with one coming through the Township of Central Frontenac. And whereas Alto has stated that the proposed northern corridor will have higher construction operation costs, and there will be no longer term economic benefit to the municipality due to no proposed stop. And whereas Central Frontenac takes pride in its rural character, the protection of environmentally sensitive areas, its lakes and forested landscape, and its natural features that define the Canadian Shield and support a strong recreational and tourism economy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that with the limited information and consultation that has been provided to date, the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac will not support the proposed northern corridor going through its township. And further, that staff be directed that this motion be sent to the Honorable Steve McKinnon, Federal Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, MP Scott Reid, Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, MPP John Jordan, Mark Imblue, the President of Alto, and all neighboring municipalities within the proposed HSR corridors. Don't ask for it to be read twice. All those in favor? Pardon?
We did it as a separate vote. Yeah, we did it as a separate vote for that liaison.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Believe it or not, we are at the confirming bylaw. Moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that bylaw 2025-06 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held February the 10th, 2026 be read first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 10th day, February 2026. And for this meeting be adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026 at 1 p.m. for a special meeting of the council, said meeting to be held, council chambers here. All those in favor? Carried. Very long, but lots done meeting. Lots of paper.
Lots of paper. Absolutely.
Done.
Lots of paper.
I knew it. It's 76.
What's that?
I like.
Yeah, I know.
It's 76 degrees.
It's warm. I knew that. I noticed that too. When I lost, my face was all red. It's hot.
Why is it so warm?
I don't know, just because we've had the doors closed and then.
Outside. Yeah. Well, it's coffee heat in the spring.
Oh,
I
yes.
generally keep the heat off in here. And
Yeah.
it's Actually about 68.
Yeah.
No heat. Today, the girls were doing a webinar. And they found it cold, so they turned the heat up and it got up to 72. I turned it down,
And
but I
that
didn't,
keeps going.
but I couldn't get the temperature down.
Oh, it is hot
here.
You want me to get your coat? Let's
Grab it.
I have
plenty of stuff that is here.
For friend, and it's all. Like, you know, next. So we've got to let them know the organizational.
Yeah, you can see, yeah. Okay. How much more do you want to be on, Joe?
I have to pee, but I think I can make it home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
there
want
is
to
a
scratch
restroom
it.
right there too. If you need to.
Kevin's not here.
Okay.
We can give options, but for the liaison, but it's not in here.
I don't know.
Around the country. Anyway.
You know.